Hi everybody, I'm back with another one of our videos. Today's video is going to focus on manual transmissions. Not everybody knows how to drive a manual transmission. I figured I would show you the basics of it. This video will not show you entirely how to use a manual transmission car with a clutch, but it'll at least give you a little bit of background for it. Now in a manual transmission car, what you're doing manually is you're clutching and you're shifting gears. Now what the clutch does, as we learned in lecture, is it separates the rotation of the engine from the rotation of the wheels. When the car is stopped, the wheels are stopped, but the engine has to keep spinning. Combustion engines have to be continuously spinning, otherwise they'll stall. So what we need is a clutch to separate the engine from the wheels. When the clutch is in, then we're actually separating those plates. So the idea is you push the pedal down to separate those plates. Once you've separated those plates, you can do things like come to a stop, shift gears, and that's pretty much it. And then when you let out the clutch, you're releasing the pedal, and the clutch is engaging. So being out is engaged, which means that the engine is connected to the ground. Now, there's this halfway period called the friction zone, where your clutch is halfway out, and the engine and the wheels are engaged partially, and the engine is transmitting power to the wheels, but they're not totally synced up yet. And so this is what we need to do when we're setting off. When we're going from 0 miles per hour to, say, 3 or 4 miles per hour, we need to let the clutch out halfway so that those plates are pressing together a little bit, but they're not totally locked up yet. So the engine can still spin at its correct speed and still transmit torque to the wheels to get the car going up to speed, at which point we can release the clutch pedal, which totally engages the engine to the drivetrain. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a quick ride out in the car. I'm going to attempt to show you the clutching and gas process, and that's just going to be it for today. It's going to be a short one. All right, let's take a look at some of the controls on a manual transmission car. The biggest thing that you'll notice when you have a manual transmission car is, in addition to the slightly differently shaped gear shift lever, you're going to have a third pedal down here. So this third pedal is the clutch pedal. So we have our gas, our brake, and our clutch pedal. Now these two pedals are going to be operated with one foot, and this pedal is going to be operated with the other foot. When you push down on the clutch pedal, that disengages the engine from the ground. When you release it, now the engine is connected to the ground. The engine is connected to the transmission, which is connected to the differential, which is connected to the axle. In this case, it's a rear-wheel drive car, so it's the rear axle. So that's the first thing you'll notice. The second thing that you'll notice is that we have this gear shift is not drive, park, neutral, but we have each car has a slightly different pattern. This has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and reverse. So that's first gear, that's second, you get the idea, third, fourth, fifth, reverse. And in the middle, it's neutral. So you'll notice that a lot of people who drive manual transmission cars just have a habit of wiggling this when they're in neutral, because it's just a good tactile feedback for knowing that you're in neutral. The other thing that I'll note here is that the handbrake on manual transmission cars is a little bit more prominent than the handbrake on automatic transmission cars, because you'll notice that this car doesn't have park. There's no park gear. Now, of course, if I were to put it in first gear and leave it like this, then the car can't roll right now. But I've always preferred to leave the car in neutral and let the handbrake do its job. My handbrake is plenty strong. So I've got this handbrake pulled up, and this is basically what I have in park. So I have neutral and the handbrake engaged, and now the car can't roll. Alternatively, as I said, I could leave it in neutral, or I could leave it in first gear and with a handbrake on, and that's park. So those are the parts of the controls of a manual transmission car. Everything else is the same. All right, let's go for a ride from the driver's perspective. So right now the car is in neutral. I have no clutch. I even have the handbrake on. When I'm ready to put it in gear, right now I'm in neutral, no gear. I'm going to clutch Then I'm going to put it in gear. When I'm ready to go, I'm going to give it a little bit of gas. You watch here. And then I'm going to let out the clutch. And as I let out the clutch, the car accelerated to this engine speed. So the engine, right now I've got no clutch. The engine is directly connected to the wheels. So I'm going to accelerate. RPMs are going up. When it's time to switch to second, I'm going to clutch, switch to second. Then I'm going to give it a little bit of gas to match up the new RPM as I let out the clutch. Now I'm ready to go again, so clutch, first, gas, and unclutch. Here comes second gear, clutch, second gear, gas, and declutch. Here comes third, clutch, third gear, gas, and declutch. That's how you do it. Okay, so let's do that one more time. I'm going to start here in neutral with the clutch out. So pushing it in is putting the clutch in. Pushing on the clutch pedal is the clutch pedal being in and the clutch plates being disengaged. I can rev the engine and nothing happens. Now when I'm letting out the clutch, that's engaging the plates. So the clutch is in. I'm going to put it in first. I can shift however I want right now because the clutch is in. I can shift all I want and I can rev all I want. It's disconnected. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to first put it in first gear, and then I'm going to slowly let out the clutch. And as I did that, I gave it just a little bit of gas. That way the engine has a little bit of power to accelerate it from rest to the speed at which the engine is going. So I did this subconsciously, but as I rolled to a stop, I had to push in the clutch again. And the reason for that is that if I had let out the clutch, as the car rolled to a stop, the engine would also be forced to come to a stop, and engines need to spin continuously. It would stall. So I can put it in neutral and then let out the clutch. Now we're going to set off again. I'm going to turn and hope that my camera doesn't fall off. Here we go. So I'm going to set off. So first, I'm going to clutch. I'm going to clutch so that I can put it in gear. Okay, it's in gear. I'm going to give it a little bit of power, and I'm going to let out the clutch slowly as I give it power, and it fell down. You hate to see it. All right, well, that's all for today. I hope that you learned something from this video. I certainly enjoyed making them. I always enjoy making these videos for you. If you have any questions about transmissions, whether they be automatic or manual transmissions, please post them on Ed Discussion. The core staff is always happy to answer your practical questions about how a real car works. So that's all for today, and I'll see you guys in lecture.